Welcome back to News 3 Today. We are just 3 days away from Christmas and a little more than a week away from the start of the new year. Historian, tour guide, lover of all things Savannah and spooky, I got that from your IG, Inika Edenfield joins us for the final 2023 installment of Historic Happenings. Thank you so much for being here. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, because I won't see you before then.
Right.
Okay, so the last time you were here, we were talking about Christmas and some of the traditions that had been handed down by Queen Victoria, popularized by Queen Victoria. We're going to keep that momentum going, and we're talking about traditions for the new year from the 1800s.
Yeah, so funny. Because we're coming up on Christmas.
Yes.
Everybody's focused on Christmas. Christmas wasn't a widely celebrated holiday in America until about the mid to late 1800s, because after the American Revolution, most of the early states were like, we're not going to celebrate anything that's really English, and Christmas was an exceptionally English holiday. So that didn't come back around until the mid to late 1800s. So New Year's Day specifically was a big deal.
That was the day.
That was the day. That was when people did all their celebrating. That was when people, gave gifts and things like that.
So let's talk about some of the other traditions. We were talking in the newsroom about this earlier because I do not know why I still do this, but in my household, my grandmother, her mother, my mother, we have never, like, the first person who walks through your house on New Year's Day, it depends on the luck that you'll have throughout the year. And that's something that I don't know how it started, but this is a thing.
Yeah. So at the Davenport house right now, if you go on one of their tours, they're talking about New Year's Day celebrations, because when that house was built in the 1820s, New Year's Day would have been the big thing. And one of the important celebrations is the first footer, the first person to visit the home.
Okay.
And that tradition comes from Scotland, Northern England, and the Isle of Man. And the idea was it was supposed to be a tall man with dark hair. That was supposed to be your first guest.
Okay. No redheads.
No redheads, no blonde hair, no women.
No women.
Those were all bad luck.
Yeah, yeah.
Very sexist, but it comes from Viking invasions.
Okay.
Something to do with that. There's a lot into that. We don't have time for all that.
Okay. So let's talk about the first footer was also supposed to bring a gift.
Yes.
I like that. I can get into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was such an important tradition that sometimes tall men with dark hair would actually go around to a lot of the houses days before New Year's Day and say, hey, if you want me to be the first guest to arrive, give me a little bit of money.
Okay, so we have to give the footer a gift. Okay.
Yes. So, well, no, they would give the first footer money so that they would have a guaranteed first footer who would bring a gift.
Okay.
Which would be coal to symbolize the warmth of the home.
Okay. Not being naughty.
Not being naughty.
Okay.
Or whiskey, sometimes a baked good like fruit cake. And then the first footer would also receive a gift in return, usually a drink or some food at the house as well.
Okay, now speaking of drink, tell me about this Chatham artillery punch, because this was something that was served very often.
Yes. So maybe not in the 1820s, because from my research, the Chatham artillery punch recipe didn't come around until like the mid 1800s. But once you started receiving guests, you would have some type of alcoholic punch there. Chatham artillery punch was a well-loved one, still well-loved in Savannah. And my theory behind that is, since it usually involves like 3 to 4 different alcohols, you can't regret the last year if you're too drunk to remember anything.
I get it. Okay, so we normally have a big dinner on Christmas and Thanksgiving, but New Year's Day was the day to have that big dinner.
Oh, yeah. And again, if you go to the Davenport house right now, they have their full spread there at the Davenport house.
Is Hop and Jaws a part of that dinner?
I didn't notice.
Oh,
maybe.
Okay.
But today, even today, a lot of us have a New Year's Day tradition. We eat very specific foods.
We do. Now we have to wrap, but you have one more special Christmas tour going on before the new year.
Yes. So my special Christmas Past Ghost Tour. It's going to be this Saturday. This is the last Saturday that we're doing it for the month, but I'm still offering regular ghost tours throughout the rest of the month and into the new year.
All right. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas.
To you.
Happy New Year. Everything together. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in January.
Yep.
And stay